healing our inner child. We're gonna wait for a little bit. Hello, hello, and welcome. Hello. This is a big subject. I hope you guys can join us and learn as I learn with me. Hello, hello. Donna, hey. Who else is there? Yours. Hello. Thank you for connecting. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about this work that I'm doing. I'm talking about healing. I'm talking about how do we connect with our inner child, right? In order for us to heal. So I'm waiting for more people to connect so everybody gets the whole share. So this has been a long journey for me, especially because I've discovered things from my childhood that were painful and that I didn't really consciously knew about. And when I realized that these things actually happen and they came to my conscious mind, I started doing a lot of work in order for me to heal, in order for me to forgive, in order for me to forgive myself for blaming myself, forgive myself for allowing myself to adopt these labels, right? These labels that were given to me, or maybe my own perception made me adopt these labels, right? And that happens a lot. So when we grow up, as we grow up, we go through different experiences. A lot of them are very painful, because I was talking to someone yesterday and I was talking about, how when we become parents and we don't really know how to take care of our babies, right? We don't know how to pattern, you know what I'm saying? When we don't know what parenthood is all about, we make a lot of mistakes, and that has happened to me. That happened to my parents, and that happened to my parents' parents, and we really bring this chain, that goes back generations through generations, right? And these are labels that maybe our families have adopted with their own experiences, right? So in order for us to become whole, in order for us to heal, right? And to accept that we are actually perfect. We are created to perfection, right? But through our childhood and through our life, we adopt labels. We take labels that don't belong to us, right? Let's say, for example, they used to say to me that I was too dark, I was too skinny, I looked like a boy growing up, so I adopted that identity as being me. I was a little boy, boys wouldn't look at me, right? So I had such a low self-esteem growing up because I felt like I wasn't gonna be able to find, love the way I wanted because I was too ugly, I was too dark, I was too skinny, and I looked like a boy, right? So it was very painful to grow up that way because that created so many limiting beliefs in myself. And of course, I brought them into my adulthood, right? I brought them into my adult life, and it was tough, right? Because it's hard to get rid of them when you don't know where they come from. It's really hard to get rid of your limitations when you haven't identified where these limitations come from. This is why this work is so important, right? It's so important to identify where our limitations, where these limiting beliefs are coming from, in order for us to start working on trying to fix them, right? Working on healing, working on forgiving. And so one of the things that really play a big role in my life was, you know, doing the psychedelics, right? The first time I did that in Colombia, it was so revealing. You know, I learned so much about my childhood, a lot of things that were in my subconscious mind. As we know, all these limitations live in the subconscious mind, right? All of these memories that I had no recollection, not recollected the pain I went through, so I can actually work with it, right? And this is one of the steps, first step in order for us to start this healing journey, right? How do we heal our inner child? The first step is acknowledging the pain, right? And I don't really recommend going back to the past, because like I always say, the past is in the past, right? But the past is actually a good reference point for us to go back and identify where the pain is coming from. Where are these limiting thoughts and limiting beliefs are coming from? Where were these formed, right? And what part of my story? What was the situation that made me believe these things? So I always say, let's just go back to the past, just to acknowledge the pain, acknowledge where these labels came from, right? So one exercise that I love to do is visualization, right? You close your eyes and you visualize your little boy, your little girl, right? You visualize them going through difficult memories, through difficult situations, right? The ones you can remember first, of course, right? And then just envision your inner boy, your little boy, your little girl, and envision the pain they were feeling, right? Envision them yearning for connection, for empathy, for compassion. And a lot of the times we didn't get this because our parents were too busy with their own drama, right? And fathers especially, they used to be the ones supporting the house, so they'd be out working, right? And mothers a lot of the times didn't really have the time to give us that connection that we really long for, right? So it's tough, it's tough to identify that we didn't get the connection we needed. It's really hard to identify that we didn't get the validation we needed growing up. So when we recognize that we didn't get it, but not because we're not lovable, not because we are faulted, not because there's something wrong with us, and this is how we take it, right? As children, we take it as, oh, I'm not lovable enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not, I don't look like my mom enough, I don't look like my dad enough, I'm the middle child, so they don't like me because of that. So the perception of our experiences create these labels, right? So my perception was, okay, they don't love me because I'm too ugly, because I look like a boy, right? They don't love me because I'm not as pretty as my mom. We create these memories. But now, if you go and you revisit that little child, if you revisit your boy or your little girl, and you assure them that they are loved, and you explain with compassion, you give them the understanding that now you have, right? Well, your mother loved you, your father loved you, your father was out there working to support the family, and your mother had too much on her plate. Let me just put this a little closer because the connection on this one is not that great. Is reconnecting on my Instagram. I think we're back. We are back. Okay. So, like I was saying, if you go back to revisit your little girl, your little boy, and now as a conscious adult, you explain, right? This is the situation, and the perception that you had at that moment is wrong. Your parents loved you, but your father was out working to support the family, and your mother had too much on her plate, to be always connecting, and we as children don't understand. We need that connection. We need the validation. And when we don't have it at home, we grow up being these needy people, right? We always need validation from others. We always looking for connections, and sometimes we engage in the wrong connections because of that need. So it's a little tough to go through life owning these labels we gave ourselves, or these labels other people gave us, right? We know in school children can be cruel too. We adopt labels in school, and sometimes we keep those labels our whole life, right? I was called a nerd. I was a nerd growing up, so I took that as being me, right? So I was like, I'm never gonna be able to talk in public because I'm a nerd. I look like a nerd. I look like a boy. I'm too skinny. I'm too ugly. Nobody's gonna want to listen to me. Those labels grew up with me. They came with me to my adult life. So this is why it's so important to go back and revisit painful memories, revisit these memories, these experiences where these limitations and this pain came from, just so we can give our little child some comfort, right? Talk to them with compassion. Talk to them assuring them that they are okay, and that what they perceive to be true in that moment is not, because they were born lovable. They were born perfect, right? Like everybody else. Like we're all born perfect, right? And so we adopt these labels, we adopt these identities that don't belong to us. But in order for us to get rid of it, we have to revisit the painful stories and acknowledge the pain your child went through, and just, so step number 1 is acknowledge the pain, right? Step number 2 is visualize your little child and talk to that child, right? Bring compassion, bring understanding, bring hope, and let him know, let her know that you are there to rescue her, to rescue him, and that the story is changing because you know better now, right? So then the third thing is show your inner child some compassion, right? And this is one thing I recently learned, and through therapy, right? And I was talking to my therapist, and she said, you have to understand that little girl still lives inside of you. So there are certain things that will trigger her, right? And you have to see that with a lot of compassion. You have to treat her with respect. If she's hurting, assure her that you're there to protect her, right? And that if she feels like something is being harmful to her, you need to assure her that she's safe, right? That you are going to take care of that. And then the fourth step is engage with childlike activities. So if you go back and leave those things that maybe you didn't have the chance to leave when you were growing up, right? If you start painting, drawing, dancing, singing, all of the ways to express yourself will help you with this healing journey, right? Expression is the opposite of depression. So if we find a way to express ourselves through the arts, playing, if we find a way to express ourselves, we are going to get rid of the depression. So no oppression, we're gonna express, right? So okay, this one lost connection again. Okay, so I'm live again here. So hold on, let me just reboot this one. Okay, so the screen is frozen on my Instagram live, but we can continue here on TikTok. And we are talking about healing our inner child, right? We already discussed four four steps you gotta take to heal your inner child. One, acknowledge the pain. Two, visualize that little boy, that little girl. Visualize them going through that pain and be there to support them. Be there to hold their hand. Be there to assure them that they are going to be okay, that they are safe now, right? Give them that connection. Give your inner child that validation that he was always looking for, that she was always looking for, right? And number three, show compassion, right? Show compassion for the experience, you know, your child went through. Show compassion and understanding, right? Assure them that there's nothing wrong with them, right? It wasn't their fault. Whatever it wasn't their fault, right? So be there and show up as this person who is there to give them what they need at this moment, right? And I do these classes every morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, and James McNeil, who is the one who runs the classes, always says, you know, it's like a quantum visualization meditation. You go back to this place and time, to this place in your life, you know, to acknowledge the pain, to show yourself compassion, to give yourself understanding. I don't know what's going on with this. I'm going to end it, and then I'm gonna end it, and just give me 1 second. I don't know what's happening here. Okay, I'm just gonna close this one as more people join here. We'll see. Okay, so I'm connecting again, talking about healing our inner child. It's hard for me to see if anyone is commenting, but we went through 4 steps, right? The first step is acknowledge the pain. The second step is visualize your inner child and go back and revisit some painful memories, but only to assure your little boy, your little girl, that he's safe. To give that little boy and that little girl some compassion, to tell them, to assure them that they will be okay and that you will take care of them, right? The third step was show them compassion. We already spoke about that. Give them compassion, understanding, give them that connection they are longing for. Be there to hug them, right? How many times growing up we needed a hug, right? And our parents were too busy just doing life. They were too busy with their own drama, and we couldn't, you know, we couldn't get them to be that close, right? And we didn't understand why. You know, we thought it was our fault. We thought we were faulted in some way. We thought that there was something wrong with us, maybe. And that creates labels. That creates an identity that doesn't belong to us. So it is necessary for us to revisit those experiences so we can talk to that little girl, to that little boy, and say, no, I'm here for you. I'm here to give you that connection. I'm here to validate the perfect creation, the perfect person you are, right? So we need to be there to give our little child our hand and hold him tight, hold her tight, right? Give her a hug. And your visualization, you need to love them so much that they will know you would never let them down, and they will find comfort in knowing that you will go back and rescue them, right? Number four is engaging in childlike activities. How do we do this? I always say the opposite of depression is expression. If we find a way to express ourselves, singing, dancing, painting, writing, anything you can think of, any childlike activities. If you want to buy some toys and play with toys, like maybe toys that you couldn't have when you were growing up, buy yourself the toy you couldn't have and play with it. Be a child again, right? And then number five, set boundaries. This is so, so important to set boundaries. And I was telling before, this last thing I learned recently with therapy. My therapist said that my little girl lives inside of me still, you know, and there are things that will trigger her. There are situations that will make her react in a way, right? But now, as a conscious woman, I need to go back and talk to her very often. Talk to her and tell her, I got you. I know that this is hurting you, but I'm here to defend you. I'm here to hold your hand. I'm here to validate you. So you don't need that outside validation anymore. I'm here to validate you. I'm here to give you the connection. There's no need for you to fight for it, because I'm giving it to you. So you become that person who's gonna rescue you, your inner child, right? So we're gonna go back and talk about this again. One, acknowledge the pain. Acknowledge, and I don't really like to go back to the past just to review like bad memories or painful memories, but it's very important for us to identify where the pain came from, right? Where our limitations are coming from, where these ideas, where are these labels coming from? If we were all created to perfection, why have we adopted these labels, right? Why have we adopted, like like I was saying, I grew up believing I was a little boy. I grew up believing I wasn't pretty enough. I grew up believing I wasn't going to be able to make it. I didn't have a voice. I couldn't even talk, right? But because I had that perception in my mind that I wasn't good enough, nobody would want to listen to me because I had nothing great to say, right? But now I know it's not truth. There are things that I need to voice out, especially my needs and my little girl's needs, right? So that little girl that lives inside of me is taken care of now. I listen to her. When she's hurting, I sit down and I have a conversation with her. Listen, you are good now. I got you, right? So it's very important to go back to those painful memories just to acknowledge the pain. No judgment, no judgment. We acknowledge the pain. We acknowledge that what were the labels that we adopted because of those experiences, right? And we just go back to that time space to assure our inner boy, our inner girl, that they are okay, and that people around them, whoever hurt them in the moment, were hurt people also, right? Were people who were hurting. Our parents had a difficult time. Now I can see that. I felt like I wasn't lovable because my mom didn't really have time for me, but she had a hard time. You know, she had a hard time I mean, dealing with all the chaos, dealing with life. You know, life was so confusing in that moment for her. You know, she was still trying to figure out her own value, her own worth, you know, and she was living in this confusion. And at the same time, I was like, I need validation, I need connection, I need time, and I didn't get it, right? But now I go back and I see myself with compassion saying, listen, you didn't get that validation. You didn't get the connection because she was in pain. That was the reason why. And now I can explain myself. You're not faulted. There's nothing wrong with you. You know, this happened because people around you had so much in their mind, so much in their heart, so much in their soul, you know, and like I said before, a lot of the limitations come from our grandparents, you know, behaviors and these limiting beliefs come from our ancestors sometimes, right? And it's hard to break the chain. This is why it's so important to just go back and assure your little boy, your little girl that they are taken care of, right? They're still here with you. And whenever they feel like they're in pain, whenever they feel like they're being disrespected, you better listen, right? Set your boundaries. Set those boundaries for her, for him. It's time to say no. It's time to say I don't deserve this. It's time to say I'm hurting. So right now I need a break, right? She's hurting. The little girl is hurting because she still has some limitations, and I have to sit with her at times. I have to sit with her for a couple of hours, you know, to appease her, to tell her that she's going to be okay. You know, I'm here to protect you. You're not alone anymore. So I carry her with me, you know, and I assure her every time there's a trigger, every time there's something that she feels like she's being threatened or she's being hurt somehow. I'm there to tell her I'm here to take care of you and you are going to be okay. You're not alone anymore, right? I give her that validation. I give her the connection. I give her everything she couldn't have, right? Because this is what we do. We go back and rescue our little girl, rescue our little boy, right? Number one, acknowledge the pain. Just go back to those stories to acknowledge that they were painful, right? And to rewrite the story. Rewrite the story in a way that your little child can understand. You know, this wasn't your fault. You are not, there's nothing wrong with you, you know? And see that little child with so much compassion and just assure them that they are going to be okay. You are there to walk, you know, with their hands. Give them your hand, give them a hug, right? And assure them that they are going to be okay. Then visualize that little boy, that little girl, visualize them feeling the feelings they were feeling, right? And just be there to be the witness without judging, just to assure them that everything is going to be okay, that it wasn't their fault, right? So everything's going to be okay. I'm here to give you my hand. I'm here to assure you there's nothing wrong with you, okay? I'm here to assure you that you are loved. But sometimes people around us are just too caught up in their own drama. You know, they have no time to show us the love they really feel for us, right? Or they're really caught up in this social tradition that, you know, they have to work and provide. And our parents forgot about that, about the validation, about the connection. A lot of our parents forgot because they were too busy with their own drama, you know, and see them with compassion too, you know. It is time for us to see them with compassion too. I mean, they went through their own stuff. It's time to forgive. It's time to forgive yourself for adopting those labels. It's time to forgive yourself for believing that those labels were your identity when they are not. Your identity is you were created to perfection. And it's time to start shedding. Yeah. It's time to start peeling off those limitations, taking them out, and connecting to the pureness of your soul, connecting to the pureness of your perfect creation, right? So, this is a call to you to reconnect to that inner child, to reconnect and know that this child lives here still with his limitations, with her limitations. And you need to be that person who sets the boundaries now for her, for him. Okay? So you are a conscious adult. You know better. You can go back and rewrite stories and make it better for that little child of yours, right? And that's how healing starts. Acknowledge the pain, visualize your inner child so you can hug him, so you can give them compassion, give her compassion, give her understanding, give her the connection, give her the validation they need, right? It's time for you to become that person she was always waiting for, that person he was always waiting for, right? Because when I was growing up, I was like, I cannot wait to be an adult because I'm gonna be that person who's gonna do everything right. And of course, I didn't do everything right, right? I made the same mistakes with my children, and I'm still learning. Every day I'm learning, every day. But we need to be compassionate to ourselves, compassionate to every single process, and allow ourselves to feel those emotions so we can heal them. Those emotions are trapped in our body. And this is why it's so important to practice somatic moves, breathing, meditation, so you can just connect to yourself. Take some time to get to know who you are. Take some time to get to know that little boy, that little girl. Take some time to get to know what pains them, what hurts them, what triggers them. So you can be there to assure them that you are going to take care of them. You are the one who's going to be setting boundaries. The boundaries they couldn't set back then, right? You are going to be the one giving that child the validation they didn't get. You are going to be the one giving that connection to your child. So, with all that said, I hope you found this helpful. And like I said before, acknowledge the pain. Visualize your little boy or your little girl, just to give that little boy and that little girl some compassion. Hug this little child with all your soul. Give this little child all the love he was always longing for. Give this little child that understanding, that connection, that validation, and know that that little child still lives here in you. Listen to the pain. When that little child is hurting, you don't judge. You sit with it and explain, you know. Sometimes we just come to our adult life thinking that the world is against us, right? But we have to realize that the world's behavior has nothing to do with us, you know. What we do is what creates our world around us. The way we react, the way we act, what we give, right? So just be mindful of the things you let out of your mouth, especially when you're talking to yourself. Okay, be compassionate, take it slow, and just don't act through your emotions. Allow yourself to process before you speak. Allow yourself to process anger, frustration, like, I mean, all of these negative emotions. Allow yourself to process before you hurt someone or before you hurt yourself. Okay, so, and with that, I'm done. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, you can send me a direct message. Follow me if you don't, so you can learn a little bit more about this. Connect to your inner child. Visualize it just to bring that child compassion, understanding, connection, validation. You got this. All right. Until next time, guys. Thank you for connecting. I will see you on my next live. Let me finish this one here and this one here.